Sup guys, it's Desro. Welcome back to another Legacy of the Void guide. I wanna give it a shout out to Mendoza's for actually donating on the stream, tipping me some money to do this guide. So here we go. This build, I actually briefly watched the VODs of Showtime versus Masa. This is from DreamHack Tours WCS Summer Championship. And I saw this build briefly, and it just looked incredibly easy. It's nothing necessarily new. It was a build that was very popular in the beta when the Adept was a lot stronger. Nowadays, it's, like I said, nothing new, but it's coming back. So I don't necessarily do the build exactly like he does, but I'll write down exactly like he does it, and then you can take the notes straight from that. So, Showtime here is going for a no scout. We're just gonna put his vision. He's going for a no scout Nexus into a double gas with the core. I think it might have been Zest that was doing that. I think I saw that before. I'm not sure exactly. Actually, the health bars are not on. There's a few things because it's in a previous patch, so it gives you the default settings. So there's no health bars. It just triggers me, I guess. But yeah, so you're gonna chrono boost and adapt. Like I said, I'm sort of watching it with you guys. I probably should have watched a replay before doing this, but we should be okay. So the principle is just make a Twilight Council, make a Robo, and make 2 Warp Prisms, have 7 gates, and you want to get the Twilight Council before the Robo. I kind of doubted myself here, but I was pretty convinced that's how you do it. At least that's how I was doing it on the ladder, and I beat quite a lot of good players with it on the any ladder. No one too famous, or no one as good as Masa, but you know, if Showtime can do it versus Masa, then you know it's a good build. Here he chrono boosts a second Adept, and then finally gets the Robo. I think the second Adept is to make sure you shut down scouting. That's something that I don't do, but it makes sense. After the second Adept, you will probably just Chrono Adept speed. Yeah, Chrono Adept speed, keep making probes. The goal here is to get to 16 workers. I think. I hope so. At least that's how I was doing it. So he's going to shut down the Reaper, and the Reaper here... Oh, the Reaper actually stays alive. He's gonna be microing. What the hell? This HP setting is like nonsense. Normal? What is normal? Only show when holding... Oh, wow. Selected. We'll do selected. Then I can be a GSL observer and show you everything you need to see. But yeah. So he's got the Robo. He's starting to add the gates. Actually, is Warp Prism. See, that's the thing I wasn't doing. I was making the Warp Prism before the gates. I was going like 3 gates, Warp Prism, and then add more gates. But he delays it a bit. And yeah, he goes 7 gates. One thing that I was doing too is I was getting an earlier 3rd pylon. So as you can see right now, he's only on 2 pylons. I was getting an earlier 3rd pylon, so I could hide the gates in a different location. He goes for 8 gates actually. I was doing 7, but if you have 16 probes, you know, 8 gates. Adepts are really cheap, really cheap at 100 minerals each, so it makes sense. And the cool thing about this build is you don't need gases here, because Adepts are 25 minerals, or 25 gas rather. So loads up 4 Adepts, and then he's gonna wait to warp in more, I suppose, when he gets to the enemy base. Like I said, not 100% sure how he plays it out. I've played it out a few times the way I do it, and you'll be able to see the build order notes in the description on YouTube. So here, you instantly start a second Warp Prism. The reason is, your first is always gonna die. Like, if they even if they don't suspect this build, the first is always gonna die. I don't know why Masa proxied the armory. Oh, for drilling claw upgrade. That's pretty fancy. Yeah, I'm not too sure about that one. But yeah, like your Warp Prism, it's like impossible for it not to die. It's too slow. You know, if they focus on it, but they lose everything, then maybe their second batch of units will take out the adepts, and then if you don't have a second war prism, you're just boned. So always get the second. Here, one thing Showtime could have done better is put the Chrono Boost on one of the gates, but doesn't really matter since Chrono Boost is so weak these days. So anyway, he comes in with a War Prism. You want to make sure there's no Wood of Mines on the edges. Like, sometimes it can be hard to see depending on the terrain of the map, but you just want to make sure there's no Wood of Mine next to your War Prism. And then you just warp in 8 Adepts, and then you have a total of 12 Adepts ready to fight. As long as you don't shade in onto a Widow Mine, you should be good. You always want to shade past the SCVs so that you can just A-move onto the Marines. Because if you A-move here, let's say there's no shade, the SCVs are going to tank quite a lot, and then the Marines eventually will be attacked, but they might have enough time to kill enough Adepts that it's not going to be optimal. So always shade on top of the Marines. And you see here the Viking and the War Prism, he's not going to lose it right away, but with the Liberator and the Viking, and you see usually the first wave gets cleared up. It's the second wave that usually seals the deal and cleans up all the units. But then he had the second War Prism ready. One thing I like to do that I don't see Showtime doing here is an Observer always after the 2 War Prisms. Because you can clear Widow Mines. Like, Widow Mines are the biggest issue with this build. And yeah, at this point, Masa has lost 26 workers. He's still eating a lot of Widow Mines. Trying to spread. That was actually a really nice spread. Or split by Showtime, and then just dance outside the range of. And you see, like, now he's starting to make a War Prism or an Observer. Now he's starting to make an Observer and making like 2 or 3 Stalkers to kill the Viking. Let's say like you lost the first War Prism, and the second one's in danger. Making a few Stalkers then is okay. I think making a few Stalkers for the first War Prism is not good, because your priority is really beating his ground army. So that's something to keep in mind. And then yeah, just 8 gates, War Prism, Twilight first, Robo, add your gates, add like your 6 gates or something, then make the War Prism. I'll have all the notes in the description on YouTube. So I hope you guys enjoyed this just short little guide on how to all-in versus Terran. I know a lot of people always ask me for all-ins, and it usually takes me a while before I tell you, like, you know, I like this kind of all-in. Because all-ins come and go, so it's not something that you'll consistently have an all-in in your playbook. You can, but sometimes they'll be outdated, and sometimes them being outdated makes them good. People either forget that this all-in exists, not forget, but they forget how to beat it right away, so it like kind of like gets them by surprise, and they're not sure how to beat it anymore. But yeah, let me know how it goes too in the YouTube comment section. You know, if you have any questions, hit me up. If you have any like success stories in the YouTube comments, hit me up as well. Hope you enjoyed this. Thank you for watching. Have a good time, my man.